What's going on, guys? Welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit, and in this episode, we are going to be doing power rankings for Midseason Madness. We also have some news that I skipped over on purpose because I wanted to talk about the kickoff clash. But today we're going to talk a little news, and then we're going to dive straight into the power rankings. I'm going to give you my top 20, and then at the end of the video, I will give you my split region power rankings. Generally, you kind of know if you look at the power rankings where I'm going to do it. I don't switch things up, obviously, unless I make a mistake, which has happened before. So, before I get into the news and all that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. All you guys that have been supporting me, thank you very, very much. If it's been for 1 day or for 5 years since I started, thank you. And if you're new, just tuning in, I do Overwatch League content 2 to 3 times a week. We talk matches, we do power rankings, do all of the fun stuff. I talk about news, obviously, anything that goes on in and around the Overwatch League. And of course, with the beta stuff dropping, we talk a little bit about Overwatch itself. So let's talk about news. We have a few things happen. Okay, we're going to talk about this first. So there was a whole thing on Twitter someone leaked about the Paris Eternals copyright or trademark on their name and all that. And it got leaked out they were going to Las Vegas. And I think it was a day or two later, they said it was true. So the Paris Eternal are vacating Europe and heading to Las Vegas, which I think is a good spot. I mean, I don't like that they're abandoning Europe. It's really hard right now in COVID. You got visa problems. You have to base out of North America anyway. I don't think they should leave the European fan base behind Overwatch League. But there's struggles and things like that going on with this league right now. You are showing a game, and this is a side note, you're showing games which the viewership has dropped off. Literally playing an esport where people can't actually play the game right now. And nobody's playing regular Overwatch. You can't play 2. So some of the people who might tune in to see how guys are playing different heroes and this and that, because that does happen. I've done that with other games. I've done it with Overwatch. But, you know, like League of Legends, I was trying to play it. Yeah, I watched some guys and saw what they were playing, tried to figure out, you know, obviously I'm not going to play on their level. And the same thing with Overwatch League guys, but there's no vested interest. People are playing literally heroes that have different fucking abilities. There's one more tank. But anyway, that rant aside, I think it's a good spot for them to go. I used to live in Vegas. I lived there for 10 years, and I visit quite often. Actually, I haven't been in about a year and a half or so. Obviously, COVID and all that stuff kind of screwed things up. I usually go once, sometimes twice a year. But they have an esports arena. They have 5,000 different venues. You have a football stadium-sized venue. You have 3 to 5 hockey/basketball size arenas, and then you have all of the ones in between, because every giant hotel property now has some kind of arena for concerts or their shows that they have, whatever they have residencies, you know, they have like fucking Celine Dion and Britney Spears and shit. They all have they stay there and play for like months at a time. There's plenty of arenas. And look, I know people are saying, well, is there an esports scene there? The thing is you can get to Vegas from anywhere. There are places to stay. There's things to do outside of just going to the matches. So there is an interest to go there, I would say. I mean, why do you think the Raiders move there? Why do you think they have an NHL expansion team? Sometimes the home team is literally the back burner. Yeah, it helps the home team's good, because you're not going to get Lions fans to travel to see the Raiders and the Lions, but you might. But you see where I'm going. It's a travel destination. Also, you can have the grand finals there. You can have Midseason Madness there. It's not in the middle of the country, but like I said, you can get there from anywhere. Decent flights from pretty much everywhere in the country. And if you think about the majority of the teams in the Overwatch League, West Coast, Pacific, you have, in the East, you have Toronto, New York, Philadelphia's not even in the East, Florida and Atlanta and Washington. The rest of the teams, I guess you could throw London in there because they're based on the East Coast somewhere, as far as right now. What I'm getting at is most other teams are going to have a better, it's a shorter flight, all that, to get there. You can work events there. You could do a lot of things with that. And I think it's a good move. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on that. I don't know if they're going to keep the Eternal name or whatnot, or obviously I don't know if the cock logo is going to work in Las Vegas. Anyway, well, it might in certain parts, but, you know, it's not like I'm going to get demonetized, right? Anyway, I'm having fun with this. I'm sorry. Then we have 2 coaching changes. The Vancouver Titans fired their entire coaching staff, and they brought in Deepay. Great move. I know a lot of people are on the fence about Deepay. Young team. He can mold a team, get a team where you need him to get the team. The Gladiators have always been competitive. They just couldn't finish. I don't care what people say about, this and that, and well, he did this and that. Most of the time, they're in the thick of it. Vancouver hasn't been in the thick of it since 2019 when they had the runaway team. So I think Deepay's a great move for them. We'll see what happens roster-wise. Kind of you're in a weird spot right now. I don't know if they're going to change anything, keep guys. What's going on? They have a lot of issues. Their team is kind of okay. It's not like they're hurting for money. They spent it on a coach just now, so who knows? Maybe they're like ready to get back into the biz, so to speak. And also, we had the continuing drama of the Toronto Defiant. So KDG got fired. There was all kinds of comments and this and that. I guess apparently, on Twitter, and then there's back and forth between journalists smashing each other. Who the fuck cares? It's all I gotta say. Just give me the news and whatever. Stop gloating. Stop yelling at the guy for gloating. Just do your shit. That being said, drama part 1 aside, other drama, the team itself. I don't know what's going on with this team. You guys know my feelings on them. I like them as a franchise. I root for them. I think they went and got high-priced, not washed up, but guys that are just past their shit. They have Krong, good guy to build around. Twilight's great. The rest of the guys, I think, are just pieces. I don't know if you're going to build around Although and Finale and Muse. I don't know if that's your core. And Hisu. I'm not the highest on that. Anyway, Moby Dick was there already. We'll see if he... I think they said he's stepping in interim. He probably will end up being the coach. He's really smart, really good, knows what he's doing. They should be okay. They should have been okay with KDG. Obviously, there was differences of opinions and differences of something. In fact, Logic's traded fucking about time or something like that. So, I don't know. I guess he wasn't popular in that building with the players. So, you have that drama going on there. I don't know how it's going to affect them this stage, per se. They might come out with a renewed sense of something because KDG's not there and they didn't like them. Sometimes that happens. You get some wins under your belt, renewed vigor. But eventually, once the spell wears off of that and the honeymoon period's over, generally you go back to where you were. And I don't know what this team is going to do, personally. But that's kind of my thoughts on Toronto. All right. I just wanted to talk about those briefly. Well, if there's any more news on that stuff and, I get any more, see any more, hear any more, we'll definitely talk about it some more. I think it was necessary for Vancouver. They needed to do it well before now. And bringing in Deepay is perfect. KDG going, I don't understand what's going on there. There was obviously a rift between everybody. So he needed to go. They obviously sided on the players and not the coach. That happens sometimes. And here we are. So let's talk power rankings. All right, you guys know the drill. I do it like pretty much everybody else does. 20 up to 1, a little bit on each team. Without further ado, the Midseason Madness Power Rankings. Oh boy. We have there's some movement from my previous, up, down, and otherwise. But, there's some teams that are stuck in the same spots and some teams that have moved. But here we go. All right, starting out at 20, Vancouver Titans. We just talked about them. New coach, Deepay. Who knows? They might not be down there. But if you look at their schedule, they're playing everybody that was in the Countdown Cup except for, I think, the Justice. Oh, the Justice were in it. Never mind. They're playing like almost all the teams that were in the Countdown Cup for their 6 teams. I think the only 2 teams they're not playing are the Mayhem and maybe Dallas. But it's going to be the same. They're going to be 0-12 halfway through. There's not much else to say about this team. They were uncoordinated. They didn't know what they were doing. They're just not good. Individually, their players are good, and I expected a little bit more. I expected them not to be in the basement staring at 0-6. I thought maybe they could get a win here or there, but not really. Number 19, I have the Guangzhou Charge. They're exactly what I thought they were going to be. They're meh. Now there's some, I guess Molly had some problems. He was on the bench behind Faraway. So there's drama going on there. In APAC, they're not going to do anything. They won a game against the Valiant, and I still think the Valiant are better. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. They just don't have anything that excites you. Eileen's okay. Krong and Rio or whatever at tank. They're far away's decent. They're just boring. And they're not good. I have them at 19. Next up, they have the Paris Eternal, another 0-6 team. They looked a little bit better towards the end of the stage, but I don't know what's going on with this team. There's more internal stuff going on with this team as well. There's a lot of turmoil and things going on. Obviously, they get the news that they're moving, so they're probably going to reset the roster again and bring in a Western roster or a Korean roster when they move into the United States. I don't know if they're going to keep this. So you guys are playing, and you don't know necessarily if they have their jobs or not. So there's also that going on. So I look for more, but I had to put them at 18 because they just have not looked good at all. Next, probably if you really want to get down to it, other than the Eternal aside, maybe even more so than the Eternal, the NYXL, or the Excelsior now. For the talent they have on this team, they're god-awful. I don't know what else to say about this team. You have Gangnam Jin, he can't play main support. You're putting all of the eggs in the Cowan basket. They need another tank, a good one, to play other tanks. Yeah, I know some tanks in the league, Smurf, Reiner, but those guys are great. This guy is okay. And then you have, the only thing you're counting on Yaki to do everything. And, at some point, there's reasons why Kuki left the Mayhem. Let's put it that way. It mirrors what was going on there. You just put all the eggs in the Yaki basket, hope he carries. The problem is, your supports are a wreck. You have someone who shouldn't be playing main support. Your other flex support, Myeongbong, is okay. And your tank is learning shit as a rookie. Yeah, I know, Kaluge, Reiner, different level of tank, in my opinion. It's just a mess. And I don't see it getting any better. And at some point, someone's going to have to take a hard look at what's going on with Kuki and the coaching on this team. Because this team should not be this bad. The only team they beat was Vancouver or Boston. Not really a big jump up there. Anyway, NYXL 17. I do have tier breaks in this, and here's one of them right here. We have a tier break, and then we go up to 16. I have the Boston Uprising. Boston, they were really, really bad at the beginning of the year. The only reason why I kept them at 16 and didn't move them down was because they looked better towards the end after they got rid of Stryker. Stryker, apparently, as good as he is on Tracer and is a legend in the league and whatever else, apparently he causes he's like a shitstorm on a team. He's Terrell Owens or one of those type of guys. Antonio Brown. Football fans will know what I'm talking about. He just disrupts the locker room, and it seems like chaos ensues. You also have Crimzo was sick for a week. There's a lot of stuff that happened. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. They look better towards the end of the stage, but I still got to have them down pretty dang low because they still look disorganized at times. The tanks, for as many as they had at the beginning of the year, they seem to be an issue, and their grasp on the meta is not the greatest. Uprising at 16. Number 15, I have the Valiant. No Home Valiant. Whatever, the Beijing Bears. Sideshow and Bren call him. Seems pretty high. I know. 15. They're a decent enough team. Are they going to win championships? No. They're going to wreck some people's day. They beat Chengdu. They screwed Chengdu out of potentially going into the kickoff clash. I think if they get a couple more pieces on this team or work out some of the ones they have, Dia looks good. Sasson, if you can run those Zarya comps and he can run a Sigma, I've heard talk of Sigma, you might be okay. They're not the best team, but, they're not the worst team either. And the reason why I have them there is because I just went down the line. I looked at it and I said, could they beat the Titans? Yes. Could they beat the Charge? They should have beat them the first time. Yes, they can beat them. Can they beat the Eternal? Yes. Can they beat the NYXL? Yes. The only one where I had a question was when we got to the Uprising, and I said, it would be a close one, but I think they could squeak a win out against the Uprising. I do think that there's promise with this team. I don't think they're the worst team in the league like they were last year. They won a match. They're taking teams to 5 maps. that they have no business taking there. Let's put it that way. And for a terrible team for the last year, that's a good sign. And you have No Hill as a coach, and he has them doing some wacky stuff. But you know what? Hey, you can call it cheese, you can call it whatever. It's still beating teams. So I have the Valiant at 15. Number 14, this is one of my surprises of the year so far. I have the London Spitfire at 14. I think they're that good. Are they amazing beyond the Rhine comp with the Chadi? No, not really. But if they have a little bit of time to work on some stuff, we figure out what the meta is going to be like with the new patch. You never know. I think they could get into trouble, though, and this is going to sound odd, if Rhine does become meta and everyone ends up playing it and you're running mirror matches and things like that, where you have the superior teams practicing it all the time, then you're going to run into some trouble. Then you're going to see it probably fall off a little bit. But I still think Hottie's playing well. I think the rest of the team is playing decently enough. Their DPS line is good. I just like where this team is. It's fun to watch them, I guess. Play something different than everybody else. I'm not the biggest fan of watching May. I don't get excited about that. But it is what it is. And I think they could, once again, like I said, if there isn't a big meta shift to Rhine, I think you could still see them, and they could make it work. I think you could see them pulling off a couple of more wins here and there. But that's where I got the Spitfire at 14. 13, I did not put them where I wanted to, but I have the Washington Justice at 13. I wanted to put them at 18, severely. Because I've had enough. I sound like everybody else. I know. I just had enough of the up and down play when you look at this team, and they're the only team I look at the roster and I'm like, why are you not playing like you should be? I mean, there are certain times where you're like, oh man, this team's getting clocked, but you're like looking at the Justice roster. You should be better than this, guys. And now they're running Assassin and not Decay, like we talked about in the wrap up. Geez, what are you going to do then? I mean, he was your hard carry, and does he not want to play? Is he doing the striker biz, where he's being a total douche canoe? I don't know. Has he gone fissure? He's going to just remove himself again? And Oj? That's a main tank thing, Decay. You're not supposed to do that. But anyway, same problems as last year. Up and down, inconsistent. For the love of God, press W. That is my word of the day. There were so many times when they disengaged and even Reinforced went over one of them. Like when I was watching the match, I was going, where the fuck did they go? They literally just ran away off the bot on Coliseo. I think they lost the tank. All right, sure, but they had like 4 or 5 ultimates. You could have thrown attack visor out there and evened it up easily, or went ahead yourself. It's just stuff like that. This is another team where I think at some point you got to take a hard look at the management of the team. What's going on here? They do not have grasps on the meta. They do not have coordination. Mag, who was highly touted, looks average. Like, there are times when he gets owned by guys like not necessarily this week, but like Muse handled him. Someone was giving him trouble from the Mayhem. They are the most mauled-worthy team in the league right now. But I have them at 13. Was a little more pragmatic than I wanted to be. I wanted to be like I said, I wanted to be a dick and put him at 18, but I didn't. Next up, we have, at number 12, the Chengdu Hunters. The Hunters are in the Chengdu zone. And only reason why I have them at 12 is they can pull out wins, but they can also lose games that they shouldn't. And the thing is they're hard strapped with Jinmu. I mean, if he's not playing Genji or Pharah, it's just bad. Their tanks are okay right now. It just seems like the team is down. You're depending too much on Leave to do everything. And their supports are, it's basically what we went through last year, except for none of the heroes that they are playing were meta. Especially Jinmu's hero pool. Jinmu could get away with playing a lot of Pharah and stuff like that. You got 2 tanks. You have Peel. You have Protection. You have all the other stuff. You have targets. You have all of the things. Outside of Lijiang Gardens, I don't know where you would play it. Maybe 1 or 2 other places you could get away with it. But unfortunately, if they don't address the fact that they only have Leave and he can't play everything, And Jinmu can't do the Tracer and the Sombras. Not that anyone's running Sombra, but you know where I'm going. His hero pool is too limited, and it seems like, their cash flow, the Hunters themselves, is too limited, so they're not even to rectify it. So I have them at 12, and that's just, they have skilled players. They can pull out some wins. They could go lower at some point, because if you don't get any kind of meta where you can play the things that, and he played Genji somewhat, but when you're in that division, you're not gonna beat Who Are You, Prophet, Zest, Alpha Yi. You're just not. It's not gonna happen. He's not as good remotely close to any of those guys. Next up, number 11. I had them moving way up. Drama could prove me wrong here, and I might have to move them back down. But I have the Defiant. They made it in the tournament. They look decent enough. They're in that group like we talked about. There was a tier break, too, by the way. Next tier break going up to 11. In NA, they're in that group with Houston, Mayhem. You can throw the Justice in there, I guess. They're teams that can... There's like 4 gatekeeper teams, and they can all beat each other up. But they can't beat Rain, Glads, Fuel. They can't beat those teams when it counts. The Shock, when the money's on the table... Those teams aren't going to beat them, and, that's one of the problems with the Defiant. I've gone over what I think about this roster a million times. It's okay. The guys play okay. They want Hisu to be a hard carry, and he's good. I've never said he's not good. But they want him to be in that, like, proper, or even guys like Carpe at his peak, or Leave. He's not that dude. He's just not. And Finale... Okay, I can't use that phrase. I was going to say, although Finale. So, Finale is playing above my expectations. He's looked really good when he's been in there. Although, has been better of late. When he first came in there, he just kind of looked meh. But you're putting your eggs in this DPS basket, and it's just not great. Muse, okay. Your most solid thing is your support line with Chorong and Twilight. But they're good enough to beat the teams below them. And if Moby Dick can work some magic, you never know. They could punch up a little bit, but I don't see it necessarily happening. I think they might win a couple more games than they should, just on that positive vibe with a new coach kind of thing. Sometimes that happens. But I have the Defiant at 11. Number 10, I have the Florida Mayhem. I have them right where I had them before. I believe I had them at 10. I might have had them at 9. I don't know. They're right in that range. But Mayhem look good. Young team. They have a lot to learn. They have good coaching with Gunba. I think they're going to do really, really well. But this is a slow build. They got into the kickoff clash like they should. But you can see some of the mistakes. Someone made some mistakes in a couple of those games. Sir Majad's a little hyper-aggressive. Their DPS line looks decent. Eggsy comes in this time. He'll be in Florida with the team. So you never know. They can run some different stuff. You might have a double hit scan thing go on. Who knows? But you got good players. You got Hydron and Checkmate looks very, very good. We understand why they picked him up. I think he's looked decent. They didn't use him because it was Yaki Fest last year. And deservedly so. Yaki's a great player. But I think there's a lot of promise for this team. Now, what happens if the meta shifts? I don't know. They run the die pretty decent. They have a potential to do something in a different meta. You also have Adam if you're going to run a Rhine meta, and if the things focus more on that, because someone's Rhine looks meh, and I'm being nice because I'm a Mayhem fan. I guess that's why I'm being nice. But yeah, number 10, Mayhem. Solid place for them, middle of the pack. I said they were going to be a gatekeeper, and I think they're going to be the rest of the year. But that's okay. Young team, like I said. 9, I have the Spark. If the Spark had done something in the tournament, I have them a lot higher. They don't seem ready for prime time. And it's the Changoon. Oh, the Changoon. They're Seoul Dynastying tournaments from the last 2 years now. That being said, though, they still look good. It's just they got absolutely demolished in the tournament. And Gushui didn't look good, which is concerning. And they got to back off things like the Diva. I liked it when Bernard was playing when he plays the Zarya, he looks pretty good. You have a fantastic DPS line with Shy and Alpha Yi. Support line with Irony and Super Rich. kind of concerning. They're not terrible, but, you might want a little bit more out of them. But I still had them at 9. I think they're definitely can play with the guys in the other teams in APAC. They got to be able to play in a tournament and win a game. Win a more than one map would be nice, too. They have talent. They just got to, in order for me to believe in them a little bit more, like I kind of was at the beginning of the year, they got to win some tournament games and things like that. Big matches. Yeah, they won regular season games. It was a weird APAC start anyway. So you also have that to factor in. So who knows? I still think they're good, but 9. Next up at number 8, we have the Houston Outlaws. Houston, Doom Tank, or Don Tank, Doom Tay, whatever you want to call it. They look pretty good when he runs the Doomfist. Piggy needs some work. They did not look stable when Piggy was playing some stuff. I think they're in this boat in the NA, like I keep saying, with Mayhem, Defiant. You can throw the Justice in there, as I keep saying it like that too. If you really want to, you can throw the Justice in there. But they have pieces that are doing really, really well. Dante with the Doomfist looks good. They look good with Pelican. He popped off a couple times in the tournament, and that's what you want. You want guys like him in there. I think Merritt's providing a lot of good play, playing the Soldier. He's done a lot for this team. He's carried a couple of matches too. Lastro's picked up on a main support. You have Iris playing Ana really well. They look really good. And Iris is playing other stuff besides BAP, is really what it gets down to, and he proved that he can do that. And you have Lastro proving that he can play Lucio and other stuff too. I just think that they're really good. I just don't think they, right now, with the way things are shaping up, and Piggy's kind of meh, but if it comes into a Sigma meta, he's pretty good at Sigma, so, we might get a little more Houston Outlaws. At least a lot better version of the Houston Outlaws. At least I thought his Sigma was pretty good. But anyway, I have the Houston Outlaws at number 8. Now we have another tier break, and we go up to 7. I have the Atlanta Reign. I have them at 7 because they're kind of up and down. But when the chips are on the table, they perform. It feels like when, at certain points with this team, because they're really good. Their DPS occasionally have moments where they don't do enough, to me. Maybe when Speedily comes in, it looks a little different. I don't know. It's not that their DPS are bad. I'm not saying their DPS are bad, but there are moments where they just didn't do enough to carry fights, win fights, do things that they needed them to do in this meta. So I have them at 7. They definitely had the potential to go up. I don't think they're going to go down any farther than that unless something catastrophic happens. Because they tend to, at times, they play to the level of their opponent, up or down. But overall, when they're in tournaments and things like that, they have experience. They've been in the grand finals of the whole damn thing last year. They looked good on the LAN. They had all the stuff that you want them to have. They didn't finish, but the Gladiators and the Fuel are just a little bit better. But I have them at number 7, Atlanta Reign. Now let's move on to number 6. I have the San Francisco Shock. And I'm going to put this as a caveat at 6 and 7 to me is kind of the same one. I see them both on the same level for different reasons. I think the Shock have the ultimate potential with Proper, Kilo, Finn, Kaluge, Violet. That team is stacked. They look good. They just got to get some experience under the belts of the rookies. And they had their first tournament. They got pounded a couple of times in it on LAN. So they're getting that experience and stuff like that. You have Krusty. He's going to be able to work his magic. You don't have to worry about guys like Proper, Finn, or Kilo most of the time. It's just it seemed like they were a little nervous. And it's going to happen. But there was a lot of things that happened. Violet is up and down on the main support stuff. If we get in a double flex support meta, then you're hitting the groove here for the Shock again. Yeah, they were 6-0 in the regular season to start it, which is fantastic. They're going to be in first place and all that stuff. But, they just did not look the greatest in the tournament. You could say that about Atlanta too. But I have them both. I have Shock 6, but like I said, I think them and Atlanta are pretty interchangeable. All right, number 5, we have the Shanghai Dragons. They got to the Countdown Cup. They have a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of internet issues and all kinds of other stuff going on with this team. They still managed to get 5 wins. They got into the tournament. They beat Seoul once. They just couldn't beat them the second time. They're still good. They just have some issues. Void didn't look as good. Fate, they were running a little bit more. They were trying some different things. And you could see some of the stuff. I mean, they had 2 weeks. 1 week they played 4 matches. It's just a lot of stuff going on. I mean, yeah, you could say everybody in APAC had the same issue. But I think with Moon, too, I think they can straighten this out and they'll be fine. And straighten it out. They're in 5th. They've lost 1 game. But they still have the potential to win tournaments and all that stuff. But I still have them at number 5. I mean, you still have Lip carrying. You have Who Are You playing more than Fleta. I mean, even on things like Tracer. So that's a little different. Wasn't expecting that. I just feel like when they run push, usually they fuck hard with Void and Fleta. It seems to work. To me. Fleta's unbelievable on Reaper. I know it's hard to define Reaper, but he's still really good. But their issues, they're going to work them out. I think their restrictions and stuff like that in Shanghai or in China are getting lifted a little bit at least. So that could help out. But for now, we have the Dragons at 5. All right, number 4, I have the Philadelphia Fusion. They're a better version of the Reign. And they're like if you took the Reign and the Shock and combined them. The kids got boomed. But they lost matches that they shouldn't have in the in-between. They tore up the tournament. They looked great. And then the Dynasty just waxed them. And we talked about that match at length. But I think this core that they have, and I said this at the end of the episode too, I think that the Philadelphia Fusion could very well win a tournament. Whether it's this one, the next one, or the playoffs. With Zest, MN3, and then you have Belisariya, they're looking good. I was on the fence about Fixa and Aim God, but they look pretty good too. They did a decent enough job. Yeah, Aim God got caught out a couple times, but this game, it's going to happen. You know, it's also a learning process for some of these guys too. Back to my point, I still think the Fusion are really good. It's just, they got to work on some things like we talked about in the last episode with aggression and things like that, and get it down, dial it in, get these guys on the right page, and I think they'll win a tournament this year. But right now, I have them at 4. Number 3, I have the Dallas Fuel. Dallas is really, really good pounding on that Zarya comp. The issue is, I could have put them at, honestly, I have them at 3. I would put them at 2 if they look better on regular dive. I really would. But they're just inconsistent. I don't know what's going on with Fearless, but he looks okay. He doesn't look like the normal Fearless. But when they get Hanbin in there and they're running the Zarya, and they're running it to a T, they are impossible to beat. The thing is, though, you're going to have teams like the Gladiators that switch comps up and do different things to try and get them out of that. You have him in there, you're going to have situations where Hanbin is going to have to play Ryan or Winston or something that he's not comfortable on. But you get him in some of the off-tank stuff, and, you know, his Winston's not terrible. He had it when he's played it, he's been okay to decent. He had that clutch out against the Gladiators in the regular, in the qualifiers for the kickoff clash. But other than that, I think Dallas will be okay. You know, they proved that they can win. They got on land. They got beat by the Gladiators. But the Gladiators, honestly, right now are just on fire. Obviously, you see where this is going. Eventually, when we get there. But Dallas, solid 3. Potential to be 1 or 2. They really could. Any of these teams in this tier, I kind of break it off as teams that have the potential to win a tournament. When we did the tier break after Houston. On my rankings, it'll be 7 to 1. I think these teams could win a tournament, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But now we move on to the number 2 team, the APAC kickoff clash winner, the Seoul Dynasty. I think the Dynasty are right now proving to be one of the most complete teams in the East. They can vary their comps, which is good. They dive really well, but they can play the Zarya comps. You have Prophet, you have Fitz, you have Smurf. And, you know, Creative and Vindime are not too bad either. Vindime is insane. Creative's been playing really good. This team is, right now, best team in APAC. Not by a lot, but they're playing really well. I mean, yes, you can beat Seoul on any given day. Especially Shanghai, they just have their number. But right now, you know, you have Prophet, and we'll see what happens with the patch. You have Prophet and Smurf playing together at an insane level when they run that dive. And then, you know, Prophet also can play the Mei. He plays the Genji. He does all of the other things you need him to do. And then, you know, Smurf is very versatile. It makes it a lot easier, but you have somebody like Smurf. Every team can't do that. Every guy isn't Smurf. So they just have a lot of talent, and Fitz is also playing really, really well. And like I said, Vindime is just nasty on Lucio. So number 2, they have the potential to be number 1, but the number 1 team is the Gladiators because they're the most versatile, the most well-coached right now team in this league with star power. Ons, Patapan went off in the finals. You have Shu, Funny Astro, Reiner, rookie, playing really well. And then you have space when you need him. It's a fantastic roster. They know what to do. They run these comps so good. Kevster as well. How did I forget Kevster? Kevster could be in the running for MVP. I would put him up there for MVP. He would be on my ballot right now, the way he's playing. And when you have this guy playing like that, you have so much damage potential when he's playing Tracer, or even some of the other heroes he plays too. He plays them really well. It's not like he's just a Tracer one trick. That's the thing. And he just takes over matches. He is very smart, which sometimes guys have cracked aim, but they're not smart. This guy's got both. And I love the way he's playing. I just like how they can switch up comps and do in different parts of maps and stuff too. Some of that freaks me out a little bit, but it's not GOATs. So ult economy isn't necessarily the best thing. If you're going to roll the team and switch the comp. Or when you switch the comp, right? That makes sense. You won't have to worry about ult economy because you'll just catch up really fast. Sometimes that's a little overrated. Sometimes. I have the Gladiators number 1, won the kickoff clash, and I expect them to be in this mix for the Midseason Madness, which is going to be a banger of a tournament. It's an international. It's got 12 teams, all the whole 9 yards. It's going to be fun. But that's going to do it for the power rankings. Okay, here's my East and West brackets. If you just want to see those, there you go. Okay, but that's going to do it, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. All of your support's greatly, greatly appreciated. If you've been here for 1 day or 5 years, thank you very much. And if you're new and you made it all the way to the end of the video, thanks for coming in and checking me out. If you could hit a like, hit a subscribe, that would be fantastic. All the YouTube jazz gets us up in the algorithms, and we get more people in here talking about Overwatch League, right? And that's where the fun is. This is Misfit. I'm out. Everybody stay safe, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you on the next one.